There is a topic I had in mind that was a huge topic a lot of people were talking about on YouTube the other day.
All right, well, let's
but
do
at
that.
the same time, it gives me a headache because it's so annoying how some people actually think a woman should propose.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like because a lot of men now are changing their perspective and they feel like it's okay for women to propose, which I highly disagree.
Okay, that's a good topic.
Okay, no. We definitely can do this one because I know a little bit about it just due to the fact of Joe. Oh my God, what the hell is his name? His girl did that to him. Joel Santana, not Joel Santana.
What's her name? Yeah, Jim Jones. Yeah, Chrissy. Yeah, that topic. I was watching like a little podcast about that. I was so disappointed. I was like, no. Like a guy was actually confident in saying it too. He's like, no, I believe like the woman should.
The thing is that there are certain dudes who aren't with the old school terminology and thinking, and that comes down to the new school way of being raised. So I can understand when a lot of these guys say that shit is because they were raised.
There's so many reasons why that shouldn't even be going down.
That's true.
So many reasons why.
All right, let's hit it because we're going to waste good points not doing it in the podcast.
I mean, do we even need an intro? People know who we are.
Yeah.
I mean,
they
really
know.
do. I mean, but here's the thing.
This is the intro of our show. Tagline.
I mean, but here's the thing. The real question is, to our audience, do you actually feel it is okay for a woman to propose to a man? And based on the times we're in and the whole dynamic of what's happening right now, people are reevaluating their situations on the rules of marriage. And I, for one, I'm far too Neanderthalish and far too old school for that shit. So y'all know what my stance on that is. Like, I think it's a man's job to actually secure his house, his home, his girl, and all of that. But that's just me. I don't know. What do y'all think?
It's refreshing for you to say that because a lot of men nowadays are changing their perspective and saying women should do it now, which I feel like that's a B move. I don't know how to say the word, but yeah.
No, but you see, that's the problem I have with women. Though.
No, because no.
Sensitive ass men, y'all ask for all of this shit, and now when they're
no. But there's a balance.
Y'all ask,
no, there's a happy medium. There's a happy medium.
Yeah, but I don't want a guy. You didn't ask for a medium.
I don't want a guy that's too soft, but at least have some type of like not sympathy. What's that word? Empathy. Like, come on, like you guys can't just be tough all the time because you guys aren't. Low key, you guys aren't. Men aren't. You guys have a soft side, but you guys have an ego where you guys like to pretend like you guys can handle everything. No, not all the time. Both sides, we all have masculine and feminine energy, but we all have to learn how to use it in a balance. But the problem with human beings, there's some people who have too much masculine energy and too much feminine energy. You need to learn how to balance both. That's the point of life. You got to learn how to balance both in order to get through life and get through situations. The problem with, I disagree with the whole woman. Like, come on, that's a immediate disagreement. Like, I don't agree with that. Like,
we can't go on if that happens.
No, because like, it's uncomfortable. It's just not. Well, if I ever saw a woman do that like, to me, it makes me cringe because it's like, that's not your role. You're not.
Oh shit!
Not
she
only
said it,
that.
Not us.
Not only
she said
that.
It, not us.
Be a man.
She said it, not us.
Be a man.
Not only that, like, not only that, it's like when you think about it, when a woman's natural instinct is to say yes when a marriage happens. Not all women say yes, but majority, because that's what we want. We don't know if that's what a guy wants. So we're not just going to go, boom, ring. Will you marry me? Because we know for damn sure we're going to get rejected. We're going to get rejected. Hands down.
Cool. Okay, so I'm liking this topic. I am. So
the energy is definitely on this one.
I fully hear you, Lexi, on this aspect, and trust me, I'm team man should do it. So don't discredit and be like, Rohan, are you one of those like soft men?
Don't toe the line, nigga.
But it's funny how you put that down and saying, as a woman, I have to expose myself and figure out like whether or not this guy's going to say yes. And the dynamic of men, the majority of it, we're not obsessed with marriage like women. We
don't plan it out since we were 16.
Well, not only that,
but that's the thing. Not all women plan it out either. Because for me, I didn't even know if I wanted marriage growing up. I didn't know. I was like, not all women are sure about that.
Yeah, but even today, there's still an idealism that states with marriage for a woman than a man. You do a survey of like 100 men and be like, yo, do you want to get married? The majority of them will probably be like, whatever. There'll probably be a handful of them, maybe like 30% of them saying, I want to get married. And then you go and ask those 30%, do you want to get married because of the fact that you want to get married, like the desire? And she's like, no, that is a state or a milestone that I want to check off. There's very little guys that romanticize marriage at the same level that society projects and women desire, right? Like, to me, it's just like even as a photographer, weddings good for work. I like weddings. I think they're fun. I like seeing like the bride dressed up. Like I've been to some weddings and some events, and the bride are just like I'm looking at the bride and be like,
it's emotional. It's emotional. I love them, but
not only the beauty, but some of these women are just damn. Anyways,
you just look at it and be like, I see why he locked me down.
Like,
I get it now.
I'll say it from my perspective, because as a woman, trust me, it just hearing my differences would probably shock some people, because everyone assumes every female wants that. For me, I'm kind of the opposite. I don't really care for like to get married per se. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, it's like, I wanted that at one point for my future, but like, the more I'll say it this way, like marriage is changing nowadays in the generations, and like how society is putting marriage now. It's not as it was before, where people cherished it and valued it. Now it's at that point where now people just divorce within 30 days. People take it as like it's not that serious anymore. People aren't really valuing marriage as much. So it scares me. Someone like me that used to be in love with like getting married, like all that stuff, for me to switch my opinion now and be like, I don't know. Because the reason why I feel like I don't know if I want that anymore is because the way everybody treats marriage now. Like now it's just not taken seriously.
And that goes back to the statement, the sanctity of marriage has been challenged. Because back in the day, there was both there was multiple elements that validated marriage. The financial aspect and being like, all right, cool, like, for this, woman, 2 goats and a thing or whatever, or royalty or family lineage or whatever. Those were the values of it. But now as society has advanced, so it's okay to have kids out of wedlock. It's less taboo than it was like 30, 40 years ago, and it's more socially acceptable. In addition to that, we understand that with the hyper exposure and the hyper influence of a lot of things, the sustainability of a relationship because of other facets make it difficult. You can love somebody, but if the situation is financially daunting or whatnot, then it becomes comparable. And a lot of people are more aware of those impacts than just simply being like, love is a constitutionalization of what it is. Like, we can envy our parents because their relationship was governed by their way of life, right? Like, you married somebody in proximity, you deal with that. You're not being exposed to be anything. You're getting the best out of what you can get. As crude as that sounds, you are. Now we're in a situation where there's so many options, right? Like, and there's so many things that influence those things, right? Like now, like with the monetization and the aspect, like women can sit here and say, oh, it's that spark that starts a relationship. Yeah, but does that finish? Right?
Exactly.
You can sit there and be like, yo, I like this guy because I thought he was hot. But if he can't take care of me financially, then a lot of girls are going to walk away from him. And a lot of guys are...
No, but that's the key to relationships that's why people say relationships are work. It takes work. You got to be able to re-spark whatever you guys have every couple years.
But I'm only gonna say this because I am in a 10-year relationship and I have more experience when it comes to most of this shit than most people. 90% of the reason why you women are having and this is gonna be an unpopular opinion. I'm telling y'all this right now. The audience, some of y'all women gonna get mad when I say this statement, and I don't care.
Hey, it's a podcast. It's free opinions.
Because guess what? I was raised by women. Like, I'll just give you some backstory. I was raised by 6 women. No man in my household, other than my dearly departed uncle, who was the man of our household. He literally governed everything. And God rest his soul, when he died, I became the man of my entire family. So I understand this watching your guys' habits better than you do, to some degree. I'm not saying I know y'all better. I'm just saying I'm watching the habit. Okay. This, for me, all of this started when we started to actual question what is male masculinity. 90% of this stuff comes into question about how a male interacts with the world and how he's prejudged before he even does anything. And the reason why I say that is because the institute and the practice of marriage was to lock down a partner, male or female, gay, whatever, straight, or whatever you are. But the reason why I say that changes is because the dynamics of women now think they're men. They the reason why this principle exists now, the reason why you see women proposing to men is because they flat out do not.
No. But hold on. You can't.
I never said you had to agree. I said it was going to be unpopular.
But you can't put the blame on one party, because to be honest with you, hold on.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
You guys can rebuttal it. You guys can rebuttal it after I'm done. I simply said the reason why I say that this started with that. I'm not saying it's the exclusive reason why it happened. I said it started there. The reason why this determined. You guys can disagree all you want. Like, when the point is finished, disagree all you want.
Go ahead.
The reason why I say this is like this is because the entire masculinity as a whole, young boys, men, gay, straight, whatever it is, you are looking at them as somewhat of like, you're almost seeing these guys now, like I'm talking about the men of today's generation. You're almost seeing them as pussies or versions of their former selves. What men, you just said to me being a Neanderthal is a refreshing, you just said it. It's a refreshing bit of news to hear men say that.
Oh, wait, correction. You're not a Neanderthal, you're a Moor.
Yeah, but either way, all I'm saying is the reason why certain women act like this is because most of the men in the generation before them and the generation that are coming up, where 2 things happen to them. Majority of them, I happen to have this happen to me. Majority of them raised by single women. They didn't have the benefit of having a male's perspective to see what it was like to actually balance that household. Regardless, even if you weren't in your house and with your dad around.
Okay, now this is
so why would you take a hypocritical standpoint and saying that you're raised by 6 women, but then you're questioning guys who were raised by 1? So
no. I'm not saying 1. I'm just simply showing the point of what I have seen.
So wouldn't you be hyper feminine if you were raised by 6?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say to you. Is it almost happened? It actually did. I actually got pulled back by my uncles and my grandfathers and my dads in Jamaica and flat out told me, bro, you're not supposed to be acting like this.
Honestly, I don't think.
The reason why you see.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. I disagree when you said it started there with the woman, because it did not. I remember.
Like I am just talking about my perspective.
I remember, but that's
I'm not saying that it's gospel.
I get it. But
I'm not saying it's gospel.
But you can't put your small experience on the entire world.
I'm only talking about from my perspective. This is what
makes sense.
I have seen it go this way based on the fact that a lot. All right, I'll give you a perfect example of this. I have a friend of mine who is a single. Well, she's not necessarily. She's in a relationship with somebody else, but it's the original guy that she's with. The father is not with her. Mm-hmm. So technically, she's kind of a single mom. Like, you know what I mean? They don't really live together. They just kind of help each other out.
But you're basically proving my point, though, because
no, let me finish. The reason why the household, the reason why that dynamic is so messed up when it comes to her son right now and how he's interacting is because the only person he has to balance anything off of it is his mom. He's literally turning into the things she cannot stand. She says it all the time. I can't stand, and it's the reason why is because he's exactly like her.
But do you see what you're doing? You're blaming, you're putting the blame on women when it's actually men's fault. You guys are the ones that lead.
How?
You guys are the ones that
bro,
leave.
Did you hear me tell her that she left?
Oh my goodness.
Say that at all?
Okay, listen.
I just told you that she has male relation. I just said to you, she has.
But I'm not speaking on. But I'm not speaking on some. But hear me out. I'm not speaking on someone's small experience. I'm speaking on statistics in the world.
Yeah.
Women did not. Women didn't leave men.
Okay, guys, stop.
Women didn't leave men. If
guys,
you
I
see,
wasn't bringing it to the fact of women leaving men. I just said you asked for masculine. You asked for a less masculine and more dominant version of us, and you got what you.
No,
asked
I know,
for.
but I'm trying to.
That's all I'm saying.
No, but I'm trying to make a point of why that is going on. You're the one that's actually pointing fingers, and you're not seeing where the deeper issue is. I'm speaking from a worldwide standpoint, and a lot of people can agree with me because it's been talked about on YouTube. I've seen people in the comments agree, even men themselves agreed.
Make the statement.
It started off with the males. As soon as
in which way?
Hear me out. Women don't leave. You don't ever see women getting up and going, "Oh, let me leave and be a single mom." Majority
get pushed out of household.
Okay, but hear me out. Majority of males do get up and go. You can't sit there and tell me that they don't.
I can't.
You cannot tell me
that.
You can't sit there and tell me that men don't get up and leave. Do you know how much men are co-creating with many women right now, creating babies? Look at Nick Cannon. He's on his 7th.
And is he not a father?
He's on his 7th. He's a father to all of them, but at the end of the day, I'm talking about the men that leave. Those are celebrities. They have to be around. Like, they have ways.
Bro, I know
they have
a
their ways.
Rastafarian who was 28
but
and takes care of all of them.
I know, but hear me out. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get to my point because I am making points here. A lot of people would agree with that because you see that on the daily. I see it on the daily. My sister is one of those victims. Her baby fathers aren't around. She has to literally raise a boy and 3 girls by herself because her baby fathers don't want to be there. There's a lot of men that don't want to be there. I'm talking about basic men. I'm not talking about rich men, celebrities. Just hear me out. I'm not talking about celebrities or rich men because those people will actually go out of their way to do that because they have their shit together. But a basic, regular male, not a lot of them, and you cannot tell me that they would. A lot of them leave and they go about their business because they don't want to handle that responsibility. They leave it to the woman. And you can't blame. Here's my thing. Men started turning gay out of nowhere. Haven't you seen LGBT started getting big? The alphabet crew got really, really wide. And you can't lie about that because Atlanta is really strong for a lot of gay men, especially gay Black men at that.
I'm not saying it isn't.
Ever since the LGBTQ people started spreading out their agenda around the world, because it is spread. Even in the industry, it's really huge. Everybody knows this already. It's not brand new. It's not brand new news. However, it got worse now in the generation over time because now people are becoming more free-spirited and going and being more fluid. So obviously it's going to spread a message to men like, oh, you don't have to be masculine. Do you know how much gay guys I'm hearing saying that to men now? And that's where everything, point, though. That's where every, no, but that was never my point. No, but that's my point towards the topic is what I'm saying. Because it does equal to the topic of why there's men thinking that women have to do manly stuff now. And women had to do that. I'm correlate if we weren't, but listen, if we weren't forced to being the bigger person and having to step in a man's role, we wouldn't, not we, because I don't act like that, but majority of women would not be doing that. If men stepped up to the plate from time, none of this shift would have happened. It wouldn't have shifted because I don't even like the shift. You think I like seeing women doing manly things? No, it bothers me because I liked the old dynamic how it was before. I liked when men took actually was the head of the household, and it was them being the boss. Yeah, the woman could still be a boss too, but know your place, know your role. And too much women are doing the whole propose and I want to take on all the jobs, and it's like chill out. I think both parties are at fault here, not one side, both sides. You didn't let me finish my point. Both sides need to really put themselves in their own place. That's how I see it.
You still didn't let me finish my point. I'm simply stating to you, and I'm gonna make this quicker so it doesn't get held up on. The reason why I said that and I started there is because I was raised by a single woman. So I'm only taking that to an effort from my own perspective. That's the only thing I did there. The reason why I said that has an absolute to do with it is because, like I said to you, the generations that have been happening before aren't raised by men. And I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault. Prison complex, all of that, whatever you want to add to it, whatever you want to put the blame on, they're not being, today's generation of men right now, as a whole, are not being raised by men.
That's all I'm saying. The problem. And that's the problem.
That is my whole entire point.
No, but I technically agree with you because I'm basically agreeing with you. I'm just telling you, like, that's where I think it's wrong. Like, both sides need to, like...
I'm not saying you can disagree or agree with it. I'm just simply saying whatever the situation of it is, that is the end result.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just feel... They're not being raised by us. By us men right now, we are being raised by a generation of the television. We are raised by everything else except for our dad. Everything else.
I think you guys went off on a tangent on this aspect. To be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed. With that being said, in regards to the subject matter, we're talking about marriage and the fact the women being told that it's okay for them to propose. System-wise, I think it's because of the constitution of marriage. It's not being valued. That kind of associates with the fact that relationships aren't going through their paces in order for them to reach that level where men can stick around long enough in order to participate in a relationship, right? Because it's like today's day and age, before you had the institution of marriage, you'd be like, I get my education, I get my job, I have my partner, I find my partner, I get married, I start having kids. All those things had a linear association with it. Now that the roles in the past have been disrupted, we're forced, in a sense, socially as a society, to be more tolerant of changes in those structures, right? And some men aren't as successful in getting jobs. As early or as late as maybe the 1960s, 1970s, you could survive on a single income and live okay. That was predominantly the male role. With inflation and the change in the economy, women started making an active participation in household values and paying bills or going with a contribution. So dynamics have changed. Now we're in this place where it's difficult for people to afford to sustain themselves to a certain livelihood, right? There's a more dependence on...
age marriage though? Shouldn't that aid marriage though?
Not really. Because if you're not in a state to enter the state of marriage, because again, what is the value of marriage? You can have kids outside of marriage and it's socially acceptable. You can have a partner outside of marriage, common law. You can have the same thing, right? Like, Lexi, you wouldn't be in a position as a woman to advocate for marriage if you could not own things as a woman. You would own things through association to a man, right? Now you can own things. It's okay for you to have your own car, to have your own place, to the point where a component of marriage has been compromised, right?
But with the topic relating to that is a woman proposing.
So the point that I'm getting at,
the
point that I'm getting at is that before it was the onus was on a man, right? We would go through our paces. So get the job, get the woman, get to the financial stability to say I can take on the responsibility and accountability of not only taking care of myself, but my family. That is associated with marriage. You would enter that relationship, that contract with the partner and say, we are going to do these things together. But originally it was like man lead, woman follow, marriage association together, so we can have things in association with each other and move forward to the next stage. Now that the goals after marriage are no longer dependent on that.
There's I don't think that's the major statement, though. I don't think that's the major statement. I think I'm saying for me, I think the reason why women are proposing is not that. I think I'm just saying the reason why I think they're not proposing because of that. I think mainly the reason why they're not proposing is because they don't value these niggas like men before.
No, hold on.
Honestly, I think that. I'm not saying it's true.
Hold on. If there wasn't a value, there would be no need to propose. Under the traditional marriage,
just the ring, fam.
Hold on. Men would propose to women because we are saying you are valuable enough for us to invest in. That was one of the notions of contract. Yeah. So if you're saying that the women are, it's shifting the role for a woman to say, I am investing in you. So that's where Lexi is coming back and saying that is a challenge on traditional roles. But what I'm saying is that under the alteration of the ability to reach a state of marriage, right? Let's put it in the context for most of the mans to understand. Lexi will understand too, because she's told it. It's like sitting there when Vegeta called Goku the legendary Super Saiyan before he was a Super Saiyan, right? To be able to be married, most men have to reach Super Saiyan state to say, okay, I'm at this power level to take on this challenge.
Yeah.
Then you'd go into that challenge and be able to go in it. Now, because there's no incentive or reason or justification to go into marriage, what is the point? So the women are coming back and saying, I want to preserve that status of marriage because there's still a value to women to be married. There's no value for men.
I see that as a point, but what I'm also saying to you is that I don't think, like, I'm just looking at this from a perspective of I see this right now. I've seen this happen.
What?
I've seen a woman propose to a man.
Yeah,
and I asked her why. No, right? And I asked her why. And she says, and her point to me was, he doesn't have the balls.
Right. So the reason why
did you not? Okay. No, did you not see what I was saying to you?
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. But it could be a social dynamic of man's growing up under the influence of tutelage of women. But you hypocritically challenge that. And that's what I'm saying. You, as Lexi was saying, you can't just sit there and say, mans are becoming soft because they're being raised by Uman, so they're not going to propose. No.
I'm not saying that because they're not proposing. I'm saying the reason why women are proposing is because of the fact that they don't see these men as men. They don't see these, they see them as lapdogs.
Then what's the value? Then what's the value? What's the value?
Why are you all? I'm just saying the ones that I've seen propose.
Bro, you're not, okay. He might be a pussy, but there still has to be a value for something. There has to be an incentive for somebody to do something. So what I'm saying as a grand concept, right now okay, you're a man. You're not going to jones yourself as a sissy man. I'm not going to jones myself as a sissy man. So, okay, so right now, how do you feel about marriage?
I'm about to get married.
No, how do you feel about marriage? Why did you propose? In what way? Why did you propose?
Because that person fulfilled me in every other position that I needed.
Okay, so what's your benefit of being married?
Not really much. I'm already living it.
That's what I'm talking about. So you're already living it, so you're fulfilling a request because you know that your woman wants it. That is the incentive.
No. It has nothing to do with my woman. It's my mark that I wanted to get married just due to the fact that it's a part of the ritual. You're in a relationship for like that's probably what the dynamic is for male. It's a ritual. You start the relationship.
That's what I'm trying to say. You're in a position to sit here and say you check things off. The only deviation that you've done in your path, the journey of a relationship, is that you had your kid before you were married. But you're financially stable, you're able to take care of your woman, you're able to do all these things. So marriage is a prospect for you. There's a lot
of guys who are broke get married all the time.
Yeah,
because of the obligation, the social obligation of sitting here and say, the incentive for me to get married is either to lock down this person so I can financially navigate through the world with a partner on lock. My bills become our bills. My problems become our problems.
Yeah.
I think that's too much of a linear perspective, though. I think people just get married off the whim.
No, but
they don't give a shit about all of that. They really just be going to Vegas and getting married. You know how many of those people happen?
Yeah, but everybody has different reasons for getting married. Not everybody has the same reason. There's many different reasons to get married. Many.
Right. And as I'm trying to state, the status of marriage is it's not an absolute. From our parents' decade to our decade, it's become an option. It's not an absolute. It's not a goal. So there's less mans that are sitting there and saying, "Yes, Andrew, trust."
No. I'm thinking about it because in my parents' generation, it was an option too. Like my dad and my mom never got married, and half the people in my family never got married.
It was still a goal. If you could ask your parents, would you want to get married? If you took the
I probably will need to, yeah. No, I probably would need to.
If you took the financial burden out of getting married, I just said, you guys want to get married? They'd be like, yeah, okay, we're down to get married.
I think that's true. If you weren't tied to your assets, I think people would get married a lot earlier.
Right. But they're part of the transitional, because before the generation, in order for a woman to have things, they needed to be married.
Actually,
there was a value,
you know what, guys?
an incentive for them to be married because of the value that they got out of it.
Actually, I think I've just got something, though. I think I just thought of something that I just want to add to this, and I think Lexi can probably put more on this as a statement.
2 minutes on this, so let's go.
Is it the fact that women are more financially actually more stable now than they've ever been in before to actually allow themselves to ask men to get married? Because there's so many more richer and more well-off women than there are men now. Like, they're in a position to actually get the bag, and some of these dudes aren't. So why not get married?
I'm waiting for
think about that. I'm just saying, think about that way. Like, a lot of these women now are Fortune 500 millionaires. Like, they're getting the bag. So why wait on him?
And that's the point that I was trying to get at. It's not necessarily taking away there are going to be men that are going to abuse it. They're going to be like, you know what? You proposed to me because I'm tired. I courted you back in the day. I put in all this. I did all that work. It's your turn. If you want that ring, if you want to get married, you propose to me. I'm the prize now. You see what I've been doing.
I never heard of myself or
no, son, I can't do that. I can
exactly.
Never do
Hold
that.
on. I'm not saying you're supposed to, but it's giving you the option, because, like Andrew just said, some women, the reason why they're in a hurry, like, there's a lot of women.
They got the bag. Yeah, they got everything they did.
But even that, there's a lot of women, right? Like Lexi said, they don't up and leave, right? But they'll be like, when are you gonna put a ring on my finger? Oh, girl, you know what? I want to set up my life and stuff like that. I want to make sure we're good, but I want that ring. Okay, well, you know what? No, I'm giving you 2 years. You have to put a ring on me in 2 years.
Rohan, we both know somebody who went through this. Remember Graham? Remember Graham?
I know that. That's what I'm saying. Because the women want that pride. They want that absolute to sit here and say, I'm on lock. There's 2 reasons still to this day that it's still beneficial for women to get married. And one is the law, the notoriety, and 2, it's a validation. A lot of guys don't care about
somebody
that.
took me off the market. I feel you.
Right. There's a lot of guys who sit there and say, I'll do it, because common law is a thing. I can sit here and say, yo, we're common law. You have all the rights as a woman. You financially, we have the burden. We have all these things. So what's the benefit of getting married?
What's the paper?
We spend money to get a certificate. We spend money to get into that party. We spend money. That's why a lot of people are like, yo, let's go on a vacation instead of getting married. Right?
Yeah.
I was trying to convince my girl to do the whole, like, stay, like, let's get the hell out of here and not do this.
No,
I agree. I agree. Saying that there's an asterisk next to getting married.
No, Andrew, I totally agree with you that, because I've always been telling people, if I ever get married, I don't.
No, I'm out. I don't want to be here spend up. No, bro.
I don't care about the whole shebang. Like, I'd rather just quickly tie the knot at the city hall. I'd rather spend all that wedding money.
Bro, me and you've seen me have this discussion with family and friends and everybody. Even with my own mom, sometimes we get into that big ass argument. It's like, my mom will say, like, actually, one of the biggest pressures.
You see how it doesn't have anything necessarily to do on being sissy man or gay or anything like that.
No, I never said it's that.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Back to your
point. It's sometimes it's just simply saying, like me, if I was in a relationship right now and like getting on in years and stuff like that, I would love to be married as a title. But all those things that are associated with getting married, like, I like to party, I like to have a good thing, but I would love to have a big, like, I want my marriage to have like fire breathers and dancers and tigers and all that stuff like that. Right? But at the same token, the financial burden that comes with it, I'll be paying for it for 8 years after. Right?
Fact.
So it's kind of like
10 years of your life to pay off one day.
What's the point of committing to that hoopla? So sometimes it could be that, or the fact that the woman's embraced it. It's just like, we only have so much time, fam. My biological clock has X amount of time. My time on the market has this.
I think I want to add something to that, because, like, I have to probably know my point a lot in the original part, but what I will say to carry it on a little bit is that you're right 100%, or Rohan, because we have mutual friends. Like, I won't name his name, but he was in that same situation. He was 29 years old. the lady he was with was 32. She was hearing that biological clock about wanting kids, wanting this, wanting this. He wanted to start a business. And he's like, yo, bro, I'm not ready. Like, I will stay with you forever. But the thing is, right now, I'm not ready for marriage. Like, I don't have the time to deal with family. I'm so locked in on myself right now. I don't have time for it. They ended up breaking up 6 months later. And they were together for 5 years.
Right, because it's a touchy subject.
5 years.
Right?
She literally gave him an ultimatum and was like, yo,
that's why,
if you don't lock this in, I'm out.
Right.
But that's why it's all about compromise, though.
Right. So that's why you're hearing sometimes and being like, all right, cool. Like, someone called a woman's bluff and said, yo, if you're worried about that ring, if you want to get married, you propose to me. And then women were like, yo, okay, fine. It can't be that bad. I've seen it on TV, one me. There's not going to be a situation where he's going to turn around and say no to me. So it got traction. Because, like, Lexi, if you walk to 10 men.
Well, ask Jim Jones that.
Hold on. If Lexi walked up to 10 men right now and said, yo, you want to go on a date with me? I'd be like, yo, you talking to me? For sure.
At least 9 of them niggas are saying yes.
The only way you get a man, the only way that you get a man saying no is if he was in a relationship. And he would be thinking, he'd be doing
and
the
he's
math.
still thinking in the back of his mind, yo, is she better than mine?
Right. Or like Lexi, you were about to say, you're not his type, which would be okay. Right? Yeah,
that's true.
But in most cases, whatever, because of the fact that guys aren't subjected to that level of rejection, so the odds are in your favor. So if a woman came to you and said, yo, let's get married, I would feel a way as a man, be like, you took that away from me. But at the end of the day, if she's my partner and she's like my bestie, I'll be like, yo, sure, let's go. Let's get it done. Right?
Bro, some of the best dates I've ever had, women have asked me.
Right.
But for some men, they feel emasculated because you have to judge it by how a guy feels too. Some guys don't like it when a girl does that.
I can understand that.
Right.
I've been in situations where, all right, perfect example, like my first year on tour, single, not doing nothing. I was like 15, 16 years old, roaming all throughout Canada. And let's be real, I was actually scared to go into some of the towns I was going into. And a lot of girls picked up on that. And some of them were the ones who invited me on dates. Like, yo, they were taking me to places. So I've had girls actually like take me out on dinner. It was cool. But I will say though, there was that one time I forgot to bring my wallet and didn't actually end up paying at the end of the night. And the girl literally made me feel like crap because she was expecting me to pay for the situation. So I completely understand about that emasculation thing.
Yeah. I was just about to say, like, because I've been, the reason why I understand how guys feel with being emasculated, because I was one of those girls that always took out guys out on dates and paid for the dates. Like, I was just one of those that always like initiated it. Like, I never had a problem with it. Like, for me, initiating to take a guy on a date is not a problem for me. But I would say, like, proposing, that's different. That's like, okay, on a whole nother level. But I just believe that girls can still take out guys too, like, because like I do it from time to time. Like, I don't mind it.
Yeah, and
we
like
want to feel spoiled too.
It's welcome because there's an opportunity for reciprocity, right? Like, you can take me out, I can take you out next time. If it becomes a regular trend, then you have to question not only the dynamics of the relationship, but also if there's a situation where the man's gonna feel away, because like there are opportunities and situations like, you know, where women can step up, but because the proposal of marriage is absolute, it is kind of one of those things that's touchy and saying, yo, like, how do you feel? Yes, like I stated before, the notion of providing women that option, and I'll say with an asterisk, of saying, hey, if you feel that the relationship is stable enough and you guys are on the same page, and it's just that like he's constantly might be distracted and saying, okay, I'm on my grind, I want to make sure that we're good. And your way of saying as a woman, babe, we are good, I'm happy, let's lock it in. I could see that being as okay, I'm going to propose to you. But if it's a situation where it's either she's in a hurry to get that ring, right? Or it's in a situation where in doing so, it's going to be an embarrassment. Like, you proposing to me in private,
different thing.
Yeah, that's proposing to me on a jumbotron
with a whole bunch of us people watching. Yeah.
Right, you proposing to me on a jumbotron at a Raptors game, I'm gonna be like,
no,
damn. All your boys are never gonna let you live that down.
Right, like I might just say no, only because you did that. Only to come back later and be like, yo, I went to the Raptors low-key and be like, nah, man, I'm not going to be showed up on my girl. Yo, like, I'm going to propose Jumbotron, like the Raptor, me in the Raptor suit, this and that. Like, the team is going to give her, like, the NBA 2020 ring, that kind of stuff. Like, I need to one-up you. But there's a difference. So, yeah, I can see why it's being problematic, because women are feeling the type of way and saying, no, I shouldn't have to, rightfully so, right? It shouldn't be something that's thrusted and imposed on women saying, nah, man, you do it now, da-da-da-da. Because, like I said, there's a lot of men who are going to be like, it's 2021, 2022, you could propose to me, right? That's soft. Check yourself if you're in a situation as a man to sit here and say you're going to relinquish one of the few remaining traditional and institutionalized components of your role as a man.
One of three.
Right. So
like one of the three.
If you're in a position to give it up, I question what your position is in life. Because if you're going to proactively say, yo, I'm cool with that because I want to relinquish the responsibility and accountability and everything that's associated with it, I question you. But if you're in a situation where you and your woman's been kicking it for a hot minute, and you guys are so good that she comes to you one night and maybe private, or maybe even a family setting, something where it's controlled.
Like your family can be there because they're private too.
Right. And she gets down on one knee and says, yo, I'm going to propose to you. Like, we good. You know, we've gone through thick and thin, da 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 da. Like, you had my back, da da da, this, da da da. I could see that being an acceptable thing. Right. Right. But yeah, the complete relinquishes and whatever, I see where you're coming from, Lexi, as a woman. I would hate for you as a woman being like, oh, now that notion's being threatened and now we're being charged with that additional responsibility. Like, bro, like, we bear the children, you can at least get down on one knee. Like, bro.
I feel you. I feel you on that one.
Bro. So,
but I mean,
yeah.
here's the real actual, like, because we don't need to stress this to death, but I mean, here's the real actual component question that's out there now. Are we at an actual place in our lives where the roles of gender no longer apply to the point where things like this aren't a norm? Like, in another 5 years, in another like 20 years, are we even going to be able to have this as a discussion? Or is it going to be so faux pas for a man to say, oh, it should be him or it shouldn't be him to propose? Like, are we moving to the direction where, like, stuff like this and traditionalism is not even going to be around anymore?
It's plausible. Plausible that society might change or evolve to the point where this conversation is rendered mute, you know? Like, women can continue on their earning potential gain and saying, hey, you know, whatever.
That's what it looks like to me. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, like I as a woman has reached that level where it's just like I could propose to the man because of like, hey, I can say in confidence financially we're good, right? And then all those other things can be an aspect. And like I said, that's why one of the reasons why I'm saying I encourage the man to hold that role, because there's still a certain degree of connotation to it. But even my statement saying that the notion of marriage has been devalued, the institutionalization has been challenged, the sanctity of marriage has been challenged. Like, look how many men cheat on their women while they're married, how many women cheat on their men. There's those high value men who they're married to one girl, or because of the nature of their work, or that they know that they're high value, they can sit there and have mistresses and a whole bunch of stuff like that. Not saying I advocate for it, but all those
both sides, because there's females that do the same thing. They're powerful.
Right, like the desperate housewives that are fooling around with the pool boy or the milk kid or whatever. And it's just all those things where you can see how the structure of marriage is being compromised. And
it's being eroded every day. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That foundation of what we actually know as marriage is being basically washed away day by day.
For some, it's not even
conventional wisdom.
For some, it's not even obtainable.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, the reason why I look at this is like, all right, let's say we look at our grandparents and the way they were married before. Do you think grandpops would have accepted his wife proposing to him?
No.
Lexi, I asked the question to you too.
What was the question? Say it again.
I said, if this had been 20 years, like 40 years or whatever it is, and this were your grandparents, do you think your grandfather would have accepted a proposal for your grandmother?
Oh, no, no, no. Not at all.
And would he have been wrong for that? That's the question we got to ask ourselves here. Are we just being like, as men, I'm not even saying about the women, as men, do we have to ask ourselves this real question? Is it our pride that's getting in the way to allow us to evolve, to become better men? Or is it our ego that will not allow us to let go of that side of it? Like, really, what are we fighting about? Like, are we fighting for the same sake of being the masculine male and holding on to our ego and holding on to our pride? Or is it cool to let women take over in that aspect?
No, but I don't think it has anything to do with that. It's because, like what Rohan said earlier, men don't look for validation or all that stuff like women do. We do. If a man wants us, we are more confident in that. Like, we don't like to propose to you guys, because then we are gonna, if we propose to you guys, we're gonna regret it down the line. Because even if you said yes, we're still gonna have it in the back of our head, like, would he even want to be with me if I didn't ask, or did it? Like, it's gonna constantly bother us, and we're gonna constantly we're gonna resent you for that down the line, because we're like, hey, you didn't even ask me if you wanted to get married. Like, trust me, that's how us women are. You guys aren't. You guys are okay with that.
For the women that have proposed and are happy in their marriage, do you think they're still thinking like that, even though they're happy?
Low key, yeah. As a woman, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a woman. I can't tell you that part. Like, that part I have no idea about. So I'm just sitting back asking these questions.
She's thinking that, because look at Chrissy. Chrissy did it, but regardless, even though Jim did say no, she still was thinking in her head, how come he's not asking me? You get what I'm saying?
Jim eventually, like, the funny thing is, Jim eventually said he wanted to get married to her, and then she said no. She's like, you know what? Marriage is gonna ruin our relationship.
No. But that's the thing. When you don't give somebody what they wanted at that moment, and you give them too much time to think, they're gonna start thinking the way you thought prior, because now you're making them.
That's a bar right there. Yeah, that's a bar right there.
How can I explain it? It's kind of like if. Because I went through the same situation recently with somebody. You guys know who it is.
Yeah.
If somebody ghosted you, right? If they left you hanging, whatever. And then, like, actually, I can't even start there. If you were, for example, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you were chasing them and they were the runner, like, all the time, like, they were like self-sabotaging, whatever. And then you end up giving up and going, okay, fine. If you're running away, I'm gone. Like, I'm doing my own thing then.
I can't say that because that is what happened to my relationship.
Hold on, just wait, because it still makes a point, because I'm going through it right now. I'm dealing with the same situation. I literally went about my business, and that person, now they're wanting to come back around and reconcile with me, but now I'm in the moment where I'm like, nah, I don't trust the situation. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I've moved on now.
And it makes sense. You make a valid point in regards to the saying, hey, you know what? Because of the fact that this is on my mind, you're going to question it and everything. Like, it's also the obligation, right? Like, putting that pressure and onus on, like, shifting it. Now the woman's just like, well, I proposed to you. I'm the one who proposed this. I'm the one who triggered this state. And the onus, in a sense, is kind of on her, because, like, a man can come back and be like, I wasn't ready for marriage. You proposed to me, and I got caught up in that situation.
And then you pushed it on me. Yeah.
Exactly. And then most guys, because of the fact that, like I said, the majority of guys, the institutional marriage, don't get me wrong, ladies, we love you and all that sort of stuff. It's just that component has a different meaning for men than it does for women. So when
same thing with monogamy.
Right. So when that's thrusted, it's a different way of thinking, as you highlighted. So, you know, it's a shift not only on responsibility and the dynamic, but also accountability. Because, like, you know, like, a man feels a way. Like, if I propose to a woman, women are the ones who trigger divorces. Almost 80% of the time.
A good 85 to 90% of the time.
Right.
They're the
so
ones that
you put yourself on the table and said, I'm going to marry you. And then she comes back and says, you know what? No, I changed my mind. Right? Man feel a type of way. So obviously the dynamics change. It's like the likelihood of a man triggering a divorce is still kind of slim. A woman will probably come back and be like, yeah, you know what? That was a bad idea. I shouldn't have proposed to you. I'm going to take it back.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. That's a completely different conversation that's being had than norm now.
Right. So it's like that power on the dynamic of both sides. Like, you took it away from the man with the proposal, and then you took away that power throughout the relationship. Because it's like, yo, I proposed to you. I came at you. You're gonna feel a type of way.
That come down to? That's not what I said. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was
No,
saying,
it's
does
okay. Go.
that not come down to the original point of them not valuing those type of men to begin with? So that therefore, like, they'll eventually end up like, that relationship will self-destruct due to the fact that there's no, that, like, even though she wanted to propose to him and the intention was good, in the end, she's going to devalue him.
But hold on. Women.
No, I only ask. I'm not saying it's a true statement. I just want to know.
I'm jumping on that. But the probability of a woman proposing on a man is probably because of the fact that desire is strong. Women still look at those things towards value of men, whether or not he's feminine, whether or not he's financially stable.
No, I see your point. So those are all calculated into the decision. Yeah.
Right, because that's where women are looking for. Remember how I told you in previous
it's like the Super Bowl phenomenon. Like me and you have had this discussion. They're all trying to get that Super Bowl ring.
Well,
they're trying to find the right player, the right situation, the right team, whatever you want to call it.
And I have had this dynamic when it comes to women. Like, men will do that. Like, when we're looking at a car or when we're valuing things, we'll do it. But when it comes to relationships, women look into that because it's just like, women will.
We're less objective than they are when it comes to this point. So you're 100% right about it.
Right, exactly. It's just like, yo, you kick it, you give me good sex, you make me good food, you take care of this.
Yeah.
We're okay.
We're very simple. But then again, that's not all of us, though. I would say that's a good percentage of us, but
that's the core. That's the core. Yeah. And most guys will agree. If we went through that survey with guys, and they're like, "What are you looking for in a woman?" Right?
Yeah, it's pretty much
the core will always be that, but then the X factors become like, "Yo, if she's hot." Not many men would be like, "Yo, does she have money?" We can work with it. It's because
they've gotten to the point of being a provider, so they see themselves having to supply that anyway.
The man?
Yeah,
exactly. On the traditional gender roles, we're designed to be
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with you.
Most of the time, like, whether or not she's up on money is a different story. Like, we don't want to take a woman on debt, right? If we were to see what a woman brought to the relationship debt-wise, then that'd be problematic. But financial,
but I think that's half the problem, though. I don't think a lot of these guys even have that. Like, I've actually seen this before.
They're idiots.
I don't think a lot of people actually have a real decision, like real discussions. Like, I'll tie this all back to the women, like, asking men to marry them thing. Here's a question for you, Lex. Do you think if all women were more financially stable and more in charge of the dynamic of a relationship, do you think people would actually get married? Or do you think you guys would just play the field, become comfortable, get what you needed, and then lessen the value of marriage? Or do you think it's because of the institution that's beating it into your head? Like, is it an actual valuable asset for a woman to be married, like, beyond actually having kids? Like, once the kid is gone and once the ability to have kids are gone, what's the point of having marriage? Like, really, I'm just asking you as a woman. Like, do you guys value that point?
Questions just now.
No, I can answer. I guess I can answer them all in one. I get what you're trying to say. Like, to be honest, there is. For the last part, there is no point really in marriage if there's no procreating, unless you're one of those type of people that just wants a partner in crime type of thing, which I kind of I'm kind of on both sides where I want someone like that, but then I want kids, but then I don't know if I want kids, but
damn bastards.
I get what you're saying. Like, okay, to be honest with you, I think it's different for women because regardless, we still want a partner, even if we're independent. Like, we still want a man like there in our lives. There's like rare
or female or whoever it is to see it as a partner, because they don't, because I know plenty of lesbian girls who are happy as hell with no men in their life.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there's a small circle of women who truly just don't want a person, period. Like, they just want to be successful and single. But the majority of women, even if we have a high status, to be honest, we're the type that we would get lonely if we have everything we want, but we don't have a partner. We're gonna get lonely because when you do have enough, like, even myself, like, I even have moments where I get lonely and I want a partner. There's moments where I say, okay, no, I want to be successful and just be alone. But then, to be honest with you, as a woman, we do want comfort, regardless. There's not that much woman that would ever say they want to be single for the rest of their life and just be successful. It's rare. It's really rare. So I think it's kind of different. They all be in
their Janet Jackson vibes at least once in a while. I get so lonely.
Yeah. Because, like, for men,
that's human.
Oh, go ahead.
That's human, though, right? Like, no guy wants to,
I think we don't want both in the same.
We don't want to be alone just as much as a woman, but we position it differently, right? And because of the fact that we have options, Okay, looks like we lost Lexi in that one.
Yeah, we lost Lexi for a second. But finish your point. She'll come back.
Well, I want to give her a chance.
Maybe her phone died. She'd probably be looking for a cord.
Technical difficulty.
You know what it is. iPhone problem. There she is. No, she says it happened again. Let me just message her. Oh. There we go. How much are we for time? How are we for time on this one?
To be honest with you, not 100% sure. The timer will come on when we're down to 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
Lexi, you were saying you answered the first part of the question by saying yes, you know, but the second and the third interviewing questions you're finishing.
Oh yeah. And it was about say the question again.
Basically, I was asking financially, if a woman is as stable as she is, and then there's no kids and there's no ability, is their function of marriage actually useful?
It's I would say it's still useful because at the end of the day, we're human. We're gonna want a partner, a significant other around.
That kind of goes back to the whole statement, right? So as you can see in your response, and I don't know if you're doing it subconsciously or reactively, you're recognizing that as women are growing up the totem pole and saying, yo, we're equals in all other facets, the notion of getting married is being diminished. And it's getting
that's why I was asking that question, because I wanted to see the dynamic, that the reason they can see it the way we see it when they become like, I think each person can see the other person's pain when they take on the other person's role.
Right.
Like when it becomes a woman's job to be the benefactor or the yada, yada, yada in that style, or the leader. Sorry, not benefactor. Wrong choice of words. But the leader in that relationship, I think she'll be able to understand the same pressures that a man would have to get married and maintain and do all of this other stuff.
I actually am noticing that now, since the roles switch, like we are seeing women being in a lot of like men's roles now. Even if we, like myself, even if I'm not in one fully, like I still have experience feeling that feeling. So it's like I'm now realizing that women are starting to realize what you guys go through, even in the dating world. Like I even started to realize what you guys go through with rejection and stuff like that. Lord. Like I literally experienced it, and I was like, now I see the pain.
It's one of those things where it's just like you women are sitting here and saying, okay, we're against hypermasculinity and stuff like that. Those were some of our shields to protect us from those things. So going back to the institutionalization of marriage and whatnot, and how the vulnerabilities are coming there. Those situations where women are proposing to men are usually from women who are as financially stable, or even potentially more financially stable than men, because it's just because you're in a situation now. A man has to make a decision, right? Like I said in the example, we have our cores and then we have our additives, but a lot of guys aren't in a situation where like, oh, okay, I'm looking for a woman that makes just as much as I do, even though that's becoming a thing now, right? A man could sit here and say, do I have enough to take care of both of us? Because that's one of the components of you proposing to someone else, right? Because
or three, like, depending on who's with you.
Right, because it's just like, I'm going to take you on, and that's why I'm reaching out to you in this proposal, in a sense. So when a woman comes back in that aspect, like, you're worried about women taking on that role and being like, I'm going to propose to men, but you're going to also assume that pressure and that responsibility and saying, am I in a position to court this man at this level, this kind of commitment? Because in all honesty, I think
that's also true. I think that's a part of it as well, because you don't think of the coordination, you don't think of the actual, like, a man can actually now pull it back and say, you're not even right yet, you're not ready.
Boom.
Like, is that even a thing?
And that's the thing, right? I can see
like that. I never even thought about that as a dynamic before. Like I've never, like, that's a good one, bro. I've never thought that men would be in that position ever in life.
Right. So now women are, if that became a trend, women are going to have to sit back and say, okay, am I able to propose? Because you look at it as a proposal as getting on one knee. No, it's a proposal. It's like going to your boss and being like, I propose this project, or I propose that I get a raise.
It's a big thing.
You have
it's
to
a
validate.
Whole setup you have to do.
You have to validate the proposal. So if we're in a situation where women's earning potential is still as low as it is, it's not going to be a big trend. Because like, you know, I'm not going to big myself up, but I have an okay job. I'm not making big money, but I'm making good money. So
you're making enough to make it yourself. Yeah.
Nothing against a woman working at, let's say, Starbucks or
McDonald's.
Shout out McDonald's, Tim Hortons, whatever. And you're making like above minimum wage or whatever, and you come and propose to me.
What if she's the manager at McDonald's?
But you'd have to take that in consideration, right? You're gonna court a man.
I know what you mean.
So it's either do you have the capable of courting up? Right? Like Andrew, as a man, like the likelihood of us courting up to a woman up, right? As saying it's very rare.
Harder thing for us to look on. Like I had this discussion with a friend of mine. I asked people, like I actually posed this question, and we'll probably have this later on. But I said, if the financials were to taken out of a relationship, would women actually have kids? Like if you took, and I'm not talking about like kids in the sense of like, you know, loving your children and having, take that out the way. I'm talking about like, you know, those situations where a lot of these girls or these guys, they have sex with the person one time, right? And most women have the ability to make the decision of what actual life carries. If you want to have an abortion, if you want to carry it 9 months, whatever it is, like that's not the discussion. But what I'm saying is you are the progenitor of life. So unless you've been in bad situations or, you know, somebody disgustingly raped you or something like that, you're pretty much the progenitor of life. So it's the same. I think it's the same, or it used to be the same with marriage. You used to be the progenitor of marriage because you used to be the one that said yes or no to marriage as a whole. Now you're allowing men to have that power, and it's kind of weird out there now.
No, I think you're making a good point. If I could modify that,
go ahead. No, I was just making a small point. Yeah.
Right. It's almost the same way in saying that, like, the choice originally was the guy, right? And deciding on whether or not we get married. As much as you'd like to have it or not, the proposal still came from the man, and the decision came from that. We would influence it. Like, look, see, if a man ran up to you right now and said, drop down on one knee and propose to you, you'd be like, what the fuck?
Who is this?
Right? regardless of whether or not you wanted to get married. You could sit here and say, I want to be married by tomorrow. And if a man ran up to you,
there's some parameters to it.
Well, hold on. A man ran up to Lexi and said, I propose. You'd still be like, on what grounds? I can't accept your proposal because of where you're sitting. It's that time and investment that you get from a relationship that allows you to make that distinction, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So in the reality of it, you can evaluate and say, yeah, this is a big idea. You can influence it. You can be like, all right, cool. You can even voice it and be like, hey, babe, where do you see us being? Where would you like to get married? Saw that dress or da-da-da-da. Like all those things commemorate into that decision-making process. But like going back to this whole conversation, I think there's too much weight into it before it being a new academic or like a new way of thinking for women to say, yeah, I'm going to propose, because there's just too many things that would inhibit that decision-making process. I think it's only because of the tagline is concerning for women because one, you guys are on a hyper empowerment tip right?
Super Saiyan with it.
Right. Which is warranted.
No, it's warranted and it's needed. There hasn't been a balance in the balance of male and women power forever. We've needed a shaking up and it's about time.
Yeah. And I think it's because we haven't had a discussion to understand the ramifications per sense. Like, yes, there's been a lot of things pushing back, and like we have the discussion of hypermasculinity. Guys shouldn't be a certain way, and da-da-da. And it's just like, but have you ever had the conversation on why most guys are being that way? And if we can't be that way, what is our alternative?
Defense.
Because
a lot of it's defense.
The absolute is being hypersensitive. And then now even mans are wrestling against each other to be like, yo, like if you're not masculine, you're not a man, this and that, right? Okay. But The point that I was going to make before, now I remember it. With this standing, even Lexi with you and being like, it's fun taking my guy out. It's fun asking him out. You have a choice to revert back to being a woman at any given time. So it's a novelty for you.
That's a good one, bro.
Right? But if this conversation of being like, all right, cool. If women absolutely just said, you know, we're going to take that from you. We're tired of men. You know what? We're going to start courting you guys. We're going to start doing this. We're going to start proposing. That's where it's just like, all right, cool. So what stance do we take? And that's one of the biggest fears, being like, okay, if we don't have this, then it's that. It's too absolute. And being like, you know, oh no, women are proposing to men. Here's another attack. First, we're told we can't be masculine. You know, now we're being told that we're too effeminate. Now we're told to have our feelings, but not have our feelings and stuff like that. When the grand scheme of stuff, it should be like, let's just have a discussion. Let's just understand how things are going. And being like, if that does come up, it's not really a question. Like, you kind of have to look at it objectively, properly, like we're doing. It's just like, your woman proposed to you. All right, kind of funny, but it's just like, I can see why. She makes more money, so that's her way of validating, saying we're good. Okay, let's get married. Or
let's take it to the next level. Yeah,
right. Or you guys had that conversation, and you've been like, everybody knows you were going to get married, right? Like, the conversation's been going on for years. You've been engaged forever. You guys been together forever. You guys are like freaking Batman and Robin. You can't. There's no distinguish against it. She just, you know, in a joke was just like, I'm gonna propose to you. Or it's like Big Bang Theory. Remember Penny and Leonard?
Yeah.
Leonard,
she's like, yo, because he said Leonard proposed like 6 times. She said no. Then eventually she was like, damn it, I can't do any better than Leonard, and she proposed.
Right. And it was kind of funny. He was just like, nope, and she's like, what?
Yeah, I know. That was my favorite part. That was my favorite part of the episode, because he finally actually grew some balls for the entire episode.
Right. But, like, you know, we can still see the value in it. And as Lexi said earlier, it could be just the fact that, you know, the guy might be a little bit intimidated, or might be a very subtle guy. He's just like, I'm happy the way we are. So again, from a male perspective, I don't see the difference of the stakes, right? We're together, we're common law, we're married. There's no difference.
Yeah, there isn't any. But I think the perception, and I think you said it already, and I think you and both Lexi said it, it's perception. I think the issue that we have about a lot of this is that people want grandiose things. A lot of people want to have everybody in the world see them do what they do. But in that situation, for it to be, or at least for us on this panel, it would have to be a private situation, and that would take the grandiose and the entire, like, imagine you calling your boys up the next morning after she proposed to you.
I got the ring!
You know what I'm saying, bro? You know what I'm saying? That conversation is awkward, my G. Awkward.
Yeah, straight goods. If my boy did that,
you know what I mean?
Like,
it's not about male or female or gentrification rules or anything like that. I'm just saying, living your life after that happens, there's a whole bunch of questions you have to now answer, my dog. Every time.
Oh, my first question would be like, yo, are you getting your dress from Tiffany's, Fabs?
My dog, bro. Yo, did you say yes to the dress?
No.
Yo, you know how much of that you're gonna have to deal with for the rest of your life for your friends, bro?
But again, I feel that the only way that's not okay, I'm gonna use this word liberally. The only way I feel that it would be acceptable for the marriage proposal to come from the girl is the nature of the relationship. If it's one of those things where it's just like,
I think you're right about
good,
that. Like, if J-Lo is proposing to a general dude who doesn't have a career, I can understand why that would happen.
Yeah. But yeah, when it's one of those things designed to either overtly embarrass the dude or entrap the dude, then I'll be like, whatever. And like I said, you know, women, you have to be mindful, because it's not like, don't take this as okay, now I have carte blanche to start proposing to guys when I'm in a relationship with them. Like, it's kind of like when you drop the I love you. Like, think about how when you drop it prematurely in the relationship and you don't get it back. That's almost as bad as you being like, yo, would you marry me? And be like, no. So, you know, it's
the worst thing ever would get a stink face if he asked, yo, would you marry me? And he did one of these.
Exactly. So,
whoa, that'd be the worst thing ever.
As much as we can agree that we'd be advocate for a certain degree of liberties when it comes to relationships, you got to be mindful of it, because it's like, we know how powerful that is when we propose to a girl, right? And there's like, it goes back to an overarching conversation about the value and the marriage. Like, some people just do it for the sake of doing it. Some people do it for the clout. When it really should
I just thought of something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lexi, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think that as the dynamics have changed, do you think that men are more romantic, or do you think that women are less romantic, and that's why this is happening, and men have switched and taken on that role? Because I think that's what's happening in a lot of it. I think you have guys now listening to fucking or watching those what do you call date movies? Like, what do you call those? Relationship movies where the guy the rom-com kind of I think we're living in that generation of like people starting to believe in that type of general fantasy now. Like, we live a blind ass life.
No, I agree. Like, I was seeing both genders switching, and it was scaring me, because I was like honestly, it's sad, because men are at that level where we've wanted them, and now women are just becoming, I was just about to say the rudest word just now.
Yo, bro, ultra hard. No, you're right though. I watched a girl
turning into gorillas, but like,
bro, I watched. I'll give you the smallest and quickest little line, because actually you just remind me of something. My first job that I was trying to get in Brampton was at Swiss Chalet, and I was getting this job by a friend of mine. Long story short, I'd already gotten a job. I was inside the line now to get food, and I watched this woman berate the whole place because she wasn't getting fresh coleslaw. Cut the story even shorter. I sat there and I watched her husband stand beside them, holding his head down. Like, the man had no ability to speak in this situation at all.
Wow.
To the point where I said something to her, and I'm like, yo, you can get chill or whatever else. She starts screaming at me. So I stopped talking to her, and I looked at her husband, and I said, bro, I understand now.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's like a question of masculinity for that individual. And there are some extreme cases.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's the norm for some of those guys.
I think this switch purposely happened for both sides to see each other's point of view on how things are with each gender. Because now a lot of women are starting to understand men and how they feel with dating, how they feel with marriage, how they feel with kids, like this, that, and the third, with the working hard and keeping up with everything.
Because now the same things now, so they empathy.
So now I'm hearing women now complaining about the stuff men used to complain about, and it's like, see, now you're seeing why they get stressed out. And then now men are starting to see that we love, that we wanted love, affection, all that stuff, because now a lot of men now want that. Now they want, and it's like, now we're both starting to see it. But now here's the thing. Now that both genders are seeing that, now it's up to both sides now to actually come together and come to a conclusion where it's like, okay, we understand each other. Let's try to like get on the same page now.
Right.
And let's try and cohabitate and try and learn from the situation rather than just hurt from each other.
Yeah, but now it's free will. That's the scary part. Well, now we don't know if both genders are now gonna come to on the same page or if we're gonna go separate. That's the scary part.
No, but I think we are coming together. The reason why I think we are is because of the fact that you do see women, like we said, we're having this discussion on women seeing the architect and actually wanting to be the ones that actually institute marriage now. So I think that is a thing. I just don't think the value of men being men is not necessarily, like, I don't want to say respected, like it's they're challenged to respect of being a male, but I think.
But you mean valued, like.
Yeah, I think a lot of them see themselves in that role and no longer need a male to be that anymore. And I think that society's become comfortable with that, and certain males have become comfortable with fitting in that role.
No, if I was to push back on that, I don't think it's comfortable. It's accepting, because like I said, the woman has the ability to enter the role, but they can always fall back on it and become
true.
Right?
True. You're right.
You can be like, look at
we can't pivot. We can't pivot.
No, hold on. Look at the chickie who made Bumble. She's big old CEO. She made a lot of money. And it's just like, she can
that dating site's actually lit.
Right. So she can push the envelope, but at the end of the day, she can be the feminine, right? When you take away, if we're talking about institutionalization markers, When you're taking those away from men, it's just like, what's left?
Yeah, what is there for him to do after that?
Well, so if you're taking away the financial, right? You're taking away the proposal aspect. Even when it comes to dating, a lot of women are championing saying, "Hey, I make my money. I don't need a man, or
I'm in charge of the household and all that." Yeah, I see.
It all those things are being devalued. So there's a lot of guys that are lost, and there's only a certain subsect of men who can supersede that status in a woman, so they remain as a top tier man. Like before, being a man was just being a man, right?
You didn't have a choice. It was just a part of the DNA.
No, there were so many things that were manly. Right? Like
true. It wasn't a defined role. It was just stuff that you had to do.
Men were traditionalized. Like if a woman was scared, Lexi, you'd be like, I need you to fight for me. Now women are fighting for themselves. They're either learning to fight, they're learning to scrap, they're learning to be more aggressive, or they're really learning how to fight. They can defend themselves either physically with self-defense or weaponry and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
More women are going to war.
I can't lie though. Some females are in the opposite position. Some, because like I'm in the opposite position. I used to be the one that was always tough and doing stuff for myself, all that stuff in the past. Now I'm in a position where it's like I want a guy to fight for me now, like because like there's some women who were already in that masculine role in their past, and now they're in their feminine role. Because I'm in my feminine now. Before I used to be the masculine. I'm not gonna lie, I used to be so tough. Now it's like I want a guy to at least fight for me and love on me now. So
right,
like,
but the point that I'm getting at is that society allows you to pivot back and forth.
True.
Right.
That's very true.
There's
no back tether for
feminists and women's rights activists and stuff like that are pushing and advocating and saying this should be socially acceptable for women to be independent, self-sufficient, all that sort of stuff. Fair, duly noted. Right. But in doing so, they're taking away from certain things from the male perspective and saying, you need to step down to allow women to be there. Right. More there's the
question for both of you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your question.
Yeah. If a woman, all right, I'll give it, all right. Say we're comfortable with all of this, yada, yada, yada. All things being aside, we're all comfortable with every role being switched. Are women going to be okay with the man acting the same way they do? Questioning, being indecisive, like having the position of the relationship steered the way it goes, being the one that actually controls the sexual dynamic, like all of those things. Are women prepared for rejection when it comes to she wants to come up to her husband, she wants a little something, and he says, "No, honey, not tonight. My head hurts."
I'm gonna.
I'm just saying, are we ready for that actual 100% flip?
I think other women, they're not ready. A lot of women aren't ready. There's some that are used to it or ready or have experienced it before. Because for me, I've already went down that road where I've went through rejection, so I'm used to it now. It's like I'm like whatever. But
part for the course.
but other girls that constantly get that validation 24/7, no, they're definitely not ready for that.
Because I don't think society as a whole. I'm not even saying, I'm not putting it just on women or men. I think we have raised women in this society to have the understanding to ask or to get what they want within a certain degree. Like the system will take care of you if your husband's a dead, or the guy you had whatever with is with a dead.
But that's the point. But that's the point that I'm trying to make right now. So because the things have already been set in the institutionalization, it's easier for women to migrate into those alternative roles, right? You can't do that as a man. Right.
No, but
so
I'm saying once that role has happened, will they actually be able to handle it? That's what I want.
Yeah, I know he's talking about.
It's not going to be an overnight thing, right?
True,
like you're making it sound like this is going to happen tomorrow. So
no, I'm saying if it did happen tomorrow.
No, actually, it slowly is happening. Because, for example, I'm going to give an example. You see how women would call out domestic violence in relationships now or whatever. Now, I remember in the past, women used to get a slap on their wrist all the time. Like they used to get like everyone would be on their side instantly, no matter what happened. But now it's like, now people are questioning, what really did happen in that situation? Like now in court, now they want to see
Johnny
if
Depp
the woman,
and all of that.
They want to see if the woman hit now. And if she did, then no one's on her side no more. Because now people are starting to see that, okay, you guys want to be, in that role of, I'm independent, this, that, and third. They're like, okay, so then be able to handle how we treat the men now. You guys are going to be both treated. Yeah. That's what I'm slowly seeing it getting that way.
But that's always a fallout of change, right? So like, when it's being proven and validated that women are triggering domestic violence, and the reason why in some aspect is the manipulation associated with the role. So Andrew's example in regards to if women become the more dominant figure, especially in the household, and then men are going to reject sex, there's a biological component that's associated with that as well, right? There has to be the males of the species is dominantly driven to have sex because of the fact that the procreation is still dominant on us, right? We have to trigger the insemination in order for our species to continue. So it would have to be a biological shift for women to be like, all right, I have that overarching desire to procreate, because their system doesn't get an opportunity to reset as quickly as ours.
Well, until they're like 40, right? When the opposite starts happening.
Yeah, but that's because of the fact that the menstrual cycle is no longer a variable. During the times where they're procreating, that's what things that regulates them and saying, I'm not going to have sex all the time, right? Because that complicates the system.
Yeah, ovulation and all of that other stuff.
Right. So, as crazy of a species we are, we're very unique.
We're built prime perfect, as much as we don't think so.
Right. So when it comes to the gender shifts in the roles, those things won't be an overnight. But when Lexi's kind of saying, hey, you know what, there's a component of domestic abuse and whatnot, that's only because of the fact that it's being recognized that there's a lot of manipulation that comes into the thing. And that has nothing to do with changes of hierarchy. Like, unfortunately,
it's always been around. Yeah.
True.
And that's partially because of the fact that the state where women are at, because you guys didn't have that much power, you had to leverage manipulation and psychological tactics in order to get things what you're looking for. Would that be a threat if women became more empowered? Yeah, but then it goes back to the thing of saying, there's certain positions, there's women in general that aren't looking to be that empowered. And if they are looking empowered, they're looking to exploit. The bigger threat in women's independence isn't because they're like, I want to take care of you, right?
True. But I think is it a point of can we live in this hyper unsensitive society and women be still submissive in those roles? Because like, let's say if your woman goes to propose to you, is she going to be the dominant person, or is she still going to be submissive in that role?
I mean, it depends on the dynamic of the relationship.
No, I'm not saying I know, I'm just asking, right?
But like I said, it depends on the dynamic of the relationship, right? As we discussed, there's certain circumstances where I feel like the woman would propose, and it's either because she's already assumed a dominant state in some aspect, and I don't mean aggressive male, like dominant financial or even a leadership aspect, right?
Quality in the relationship somehow, yeah.
So it could be that, or simply because of the fact that, again, the mutuality is just like, we're good together, but this is something I want. So it's kind of like, well, if you want it, ask for it, right? Like, it's just like your kid, right? You know to feed them, so you're going to get them what they need. But if they sit there and say, hey, I want McDonald's, yeah, ask me nicely and you'll get it, right? Even though I know you're going to get McDonald's, I would appreciate you asking me, right? So, like I said, it's an interesting conversation because we're assuming a huge cultural shift associated with it. I don't think it's going to go that far. Not anytime soon. It's really just, honestly, I think it's more of a phase than a gimmick. Like, because
I can see, yes, it looks like a phase, but I'm sorry. Certain places who are so really radical when it comes to these free thinking places like California, bro, that's going to be like that in a couple of years.
What?
Like, let's be honest. It could be just a conceptual norm where women are just out there proposing them in, because California doesn't have any gentrification rules in that.
Like I said, the things associated with proposal, it will break down just as quickly because the society aspect won't
goes
change.
Up, it'll fall over.
Like, bro, it's like a woman being like, "Oh, I think that guy's." It's like a woman running up to Elon Musk and being like, "I'm going to propose to you." Well, why? Well, I like what you have. I like what you have. You're rich. You own Tesla. You're getting people to space. Be like, but Elon Musk turn around and be like, space. But I'm sorry, you're not at my level. So rejection. If that becomes,
men go down in level all the time, though.
But that's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to make to you. It's in association to other components. If it became a social standard for women just to be like, I'm gonna propose to any Tom, Dick, and Harry that I want to, then it's gonna blow up in their face because it's just, bro, it's just like us walking up to a
they have to be more calculating when their decision when it comes
to be honest with you, that can't happen because we like
they have to be more more thought thinking than we are.
Yeah, there would be way more rejection than men saying yes, dead ass. Like but the thing is,
that's like you and me going to apply to NASA, fam. We're gonna be like, we want a job at NASA because we want to go to space. And we're like, yo, we're not qualified.
We can only take one.
But men, like, that's why I always tell guys, you guys kind of have it easy in a sense, because at least if one girl says no to you, another one will definitely say yes to you.
Yeah, but
easily.
I don't know.
Easily.
I don't know about that, Lexi, because you're talking to guys like no, I'm just saying, as a male, for me, it took a long time for the confidence to match the attitude. And like I said, it was a like Rohan said it a million times, self-defense mechanism.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, Lexi, I get where you're coming from and saying, hey, if you ask a girl, this one might say no, but the next one might say yes. Not necessarily. And that's why you're getting this when women are like toxic masculinity and stuff like that. One of the negative components of toxic masculinity is because of the fact that the averages don't work in our favor. So that's why even now, like on social, how often as a woman, this is going to form as a question, but you know, the audience can participate when you're like talking to a guy and then out of nowhere be like, and a dick pic. Right?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that you guys have more.
No, you're so right about bro. You are 100% right.
You're right.
So I want to hear what Lexi's saying.
You're right, but I'm trying to say, like, you guys have more leverage than us in getting a yes than us. Like, we would definitely get a no. Like,
but that's the point that I'm making, because of the fact that on a dynamic as a man, we can come and say, all right, cool, we're batting within our league, right? So that's the example I gave to Andrew. We know our league, so we're going to go after the type of girl that we feel confident in. We might go a little bit above, but we're not going for a 10. So it's like me saying, there's no way Andrew and I would go and apply for NASA. We know we're not smart enough for NASA. As much as I would like to be like,
if somebody tells me the way into NASA, you damn right I'm running behind the back door into NASA. But I ain't trying to get in the front door.
So it's a question of like, bro, do we want to just work for NASA, be the janitor? Or are we going to go for mission control? And then what we're gonna do is
are we trying to run SpaceX? No, I see what you're saying.
So
I hear you.
Right. So when you break it down, so from a woman's standpoint, when they come back and say, yo, I want to be married, that's NASA. But then it's a
they can just walk in and say, yo, I want NASA, and somebody's gonna make them the captain of NASA.
No, Andrew, you're missing the point. The point that I'm saying is in the proposal, we can sit here and say, all right, cool. You guys know that NASA is hiring. That's us sitting there and saying, you are welcome to propose to all men. It's socially acceptable to propose to all men. Now, women are like, now we have the power to lock in these relationships. Let's skip the dating and just be like, I propose to you. Like, Oprah, you get a proposal. You get a proposal. The thing is that from a woman's standpoint, they'll get more rejection because the man will come back and say, what are you bringing to the table?
To table.
That infamous question.
There you go.
Right? And as much as a guy would sit here and say, yeah, she's hot, there's going to get to the point where it's just like, it'd be like
what do you bring?
Bro, you were married to Tiffany the other day, and now you're divorced. Well, yeah, she was hot, but she brought nothing to the table. Right?
Yeah, so I think, but I also see girls doing that too, though. I've watched women have that same regret, like, but then again, it's all mainly body image issues when that happens.
It's a question of whether or not the point that I'm trying to make, and this is why I'm getting touchy, is that NASA, mission control, right? Women are sitting, if we gave them the thing, there's no guarantee that they'll get to mission control. We might let the attractive women go to mission control, right? And be like, oh, look at NASA, we're progressive. Look at all these blondes and brunettes and all these girls that would be normally stewardess or whatever at an airport. They're running mission control. But what happens when they miss Mars?
And the ship crashes. Who's taking responsibility?
Then people will be like, we can't let these people just walk into mission control. So if women took it and said, all right, cool, we're going to start proposing, and marriage rates went up and this and that, and women came that they're happy because they're just getting in. I don't need to simplify what I'm saying.
You're not generalizing.
Because in most cases, men won't say no. Based off the structure, there's very limited limitations. If a woman like like a very attractive woman came and proposed to an average dude or even a good looking dude, it'd be like, all right, cool. I'm not doing anything today. Today's Wednesday. Sure, I'll get married. Right. But then by Saturday, it'd be like, well, this isn't working. Right. Because it's everything constitutionally, it's put on its head. And plus, when we court, it's again taking that responsibility. The majority of the women aren't in a position to take on those traditionalized and structuralized financial, those responsibilities like financial. Yes, as a woman, you'll bear the children and procreation and stuff like that, but the societal standards are not sustainable for them to take on that role, right?
In general, sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say in general, I kind of miss the balanced dynamic that us genders, male and female, used to have. Because like, I don't like this whole shift thing. Like, I get it. We need this shift though to understand one another, because this is happening for a reason. It's gonna shift back. It's gonna shift back. Don't get me wrong. It's going to.
Oh, yeah.
But down the line, because right now women still have more to learn on a male's perspective, and males still have to learn on a female's perspective. Remember when I told you guys at the last podcast that we had, when we had Reese Apparel there, and I told you guys about the male and female, and I said that that we come together for a reason, because we're both teaching each other something. It took, do you know how long it took males and females to understand each other? It's to the point where we're just now understanding
that now.
Yeah, exactly. So we still have a long way to go before we come back together in our regular roles, I would say. I hate saying roles, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. Because right now, women are now seeing that males are starting to get in touch with their feminine side, meaning understanding emotions and understanding love and how to love. Because remember, guys are having a really hard time at knowing how to love and knowing how to spot out emotions and being empathetic. Now women are learning to be a little bit more tougher and stop being whiny babies in a sense. But we're learning that from each other. But it's going to take some time for us to get back into that dynamic, because for now we really have to learn lessons.
Like, we're going to step in each other's wheelhouse and kind of be like, all right, cool. Now I understand what you're trying to get at and whatnot. And you're right. It will clap back, because certain things will just not make any sense, right? Like if we have that shift, and again, let's say marriage proposals by women becomes normal and more guys start rejecting, then the notion of people settling down in that aspect will be thrown out the window. So there, even just the notion of recreation might be compromised, because unless we deassociate that with that act, right? Like we start being like, yo, everyone just gets assigned a child, or assign a partner, like you see in Black Mirror and stuff like that. Then those things will be kind of messed up. And like I said, I strongly believe that until there's a situation where the majority of women are the ones who can take on that burden, then it won't happen. And most women won't want to, right? Because
but I think it's going to drive it there to where women do start doing that to understand. Trust me, it's going to happen. I only think, like, for example, I'm probably going. I might be going off of what you're saying. Maybe I'm not too sure, but it's kind of like a poor person and a rich kid. A rich kid is so used to getting everything, getting what they want. They don't understand how a poor person's life is. Like, you know how spoiled people, like rich people are. They don't understand like average person's like life, or how we live, or whatever, or even a poor person. But I guarantee you, if roles switched, it would actually help the world to be like more understanding, because then both sides could understand the other person's perspective. It's kind of like that. Like that's how I'm seeing it. Like if women, and I think, Andrew, I think you're on the lines of saying something like that. Like if women were to experience more rejection, more of the stuff that you guys go through, I guarantee you, when we come back and go back into our roles, we're gonna be exactly. The world would be more humble. Like women would start to understand.
I'll give my final.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just give my final thought about this whole entire thing about this marriage thing and all of that. First off, I'll say this. I'm an old school male and maybe a little bit more Neanderthalish. Sorry, I have to enunciate that word. It was a big one. But what I will say though is that because I live my life this way, does not mean it's going to work. There are certain people in this modern time in life that are not in the stage of life where they can step up to that role of being the leader and yada yada yada. And then later on in life, you can. don't think that just because you have to fit in the gender, male specific or female specific roles, whatever works for you works for you.
Yeah.
My biggest issue that I have with a lot of this is that we judge a lot of these things based on societal norms. Society doesn't actually control the norm. You control your own norm. What your household is, what you find, who you love, and who you want to stay with.
True.
So
Yeah.
do yourself a favor. Stop listening to society. Do yourself the best thing you can do and love and know your partner. Do like what Rohan says. Don't put yourself into a situation to be embarrassed. Women, if you want to propose, go ahead. But know the man you are trying to propose to. Know the situation you are getting into. Understand that there might be a dynamic of embarrassment. There might be some sort of holding or coddling that may be necessary. And men, don't think that just because you are living in 2020, that shit ain't gonna have to change. Your life is not the same anymore. Things have evolved. We as a people have evolved. But if you can find a way to still be a Neanderthal male like me, do so. That's my final thought.
My final thought is, I just want to say, like, I like the shift is uncomfortable, but sometimes uncomfortability is a good thing because it changes things for the better in the future. I feel like it's a great thing that's happening because we could finally understand each other on a different perspective, and we can actually understand each other to the point where we could come back together with knowing how to work with one another, male and female, because I realize there's a shift going on where we're having troubles working with each other because of that. But I think it's a good thing that's happening because it's going to teach females and males to know how to work with each other now after we all experience what each gender has to go through. So I see it as a positive.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing I'm going to add on to it, it's like the wise old Uncle Ben says, with great power comes great responsibility. So everything's going to trigger certain things, and you have to be mindful of how everything pans out. So like I said, if you're one of those women out there who think, yeah, empowerment, I'm going to start proposing and da-da-da, understand the fallout and those kind of things, and position yourself so when you make the proposal, you're not going to fall on your face, because it's a big deal, right? Like, I think the reason why we're having this change is because, like Andrew said, a lot of males throughout environmental growing up, they've been undervalued on what their roles is on society, aside from just being a money bag or a protector or just a sperm donor and stuff like that. So now that those things have been pushed because of women advancement, women are becoming earners, in some cases equal or strong earners, like my girl CEO for Bumble, and a lot of those girls getting the bag. Women are becoming stronger, able to defend themselves, protect themselves and their family, as well as just everything in society. We still need to understand that people have roles. There's still benefits of neutral roles, gender roles, societal roles, etc. As long as they work for the society as a whole, like nothing stereotypical or inappropriate. So yeah, like I'm for it. I'm for the ride and learning and understanding each other and recognizing what each party has to offer. But with all these things coming up, we have to start learning to understand. Like, we can't just throw things around willy-nilly. Like, yeah, you can start proposing. End of story. Like,
end of story. No context.
Like I said, we need to understand the ramifications of kind of opening those gates up and just being able to move forward and be like, hey, like, if you propose to your man, remember, his boys are going to roast him. All those things, like, like, don't just do willy-nilly. And women, like, it's not as easy to step up to anybody and say, I like you. It's not like grade school be like, check
Rejection
yes or no. Like, rejection
is
for
hard. Me, it's easy.
I mean, you attractive, so it's
yeah.
No,
like,
I don't. I think it's
right
just
now.
I think it has to do with confidence. I'm just confident in just going up to someone and saying, hey, like, you're cute.
Confidently beautiful. She's like, I hate you guys. I love you.
I'm gonna say this in my I'm gonna say this in my Emperor Palpatine voice, so everybody can understand, for all you Star Wars nerds out there. Do yourself a favor and always have your partner's likelihood in your eyes. Do not allow your selfish nature to change what's out there.
That was actually pretty good.
You need to do voiceovers.
Yes.
You need to do voiceovers.
Anyways, let's wrap this up because we've been chatting forever, and as much as I think everybody enjoys our voices, sometimes they don't want to hear us.
No, they don't. Stop this.
So, that was actually a good conversation. So,
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And please leave us in our comments. Tell us what you think in the comments. Are we way off? Am I the biggest Neanderthal on the planet? Is my opinion stupid? Or was Rohan right? Was Lexi right? Were we just way the fuck off? I need you to tell us in the comments below. And please, if you have any show ideas, you want any comments, you want to tell us what you would actually like us to discuss about, please like, subscribe, and share, and let us know in the comments below.
Cool. We could always learn from you guys.
We can learn from each other. So let's have that conversation. Anyways, Double S Club out.